The following is an encore Flip Your Marketing Flops Micro Summit interview. Warning: although we make our best efforts to provide the latest information, due to the ever-changing nature of the digital marketing industry, some information in this interview may be subject to change. Think you need a complicated sales funnel? Are you afraid of building a sales funnel? Come see why Bill Pratt, a college professor turned business coach, says funnels are very simple, as he reveals a simple funnel that can outperform the most complex marketing systems. I'm your host, Joe Sales Jr., lead generation strategist. Welcome to Flip Your Marketing Flops. Welcome to the Flip Your Marketing Flops podcast, providing weekly episodes of presentations, interviews, and conversations with marketing professionals and industry experts discussing common marketing mistakes and how to avoid them. My purpose here is to help entrepreneurs like local business owners, small business marketers, coaches, authors, speakers, and new digital marketing professionals who don't have all of the insider marketing knowledge, hacks, tips, and secrets that would prevent those common mistakes, saving entrepreneurs both time and money. Today's episode is an interview I did for the 4th Flip Your Marketing Flops Micro Summit back in August of 2021. I feel that this interview with lead generation funnel expert Bill Pratt is a great fit with this month's theme of lead generation. So sit back and enjoy this interview. You can get involved with the show. There are many ways to do so. You can email me here at the show. Just use joe@flipyourmarketingflops.com. If you enjoy the content on this channel, let me know. If you have a digital marketing topic you'd like to know more about, tell me about it. And if there is someone you think I should have on the show, give me their name. You are crucial to the success of this show, just as I want to be useful in the success of your business, and I want to give you information you want to know. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and comment below. This interview session is about lead generation with our guest expert speaker, Bill Pratt. Bill, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me here, Joe.
Bill, tell my audience a little bit about the things that you're doing these days and about yourself. I should start by telling the audience that you are a college professor and you are a money expert. And so what I want you to do is tell us a little bit about your background and who you are, and then we'll get into lead generation here.
Sure, absolutely. Happy to. So my background, I was in the corporate world for years, and then I ended up getting into teaching. And what got me into teaching was my love for financial literacy. So I'd written some books on financial literacy, started doing talks, ended up getting a job at a college that was expanding their financial literacy program. And that's really what got me started. Some of the guys I met there at the college, we formed a bond. We actually started a company called the Money Professors. And that was a bootstrapped company where everything we did in terms of building the list and marketing, that was all done sort of by hand. I had to learn everything as I went. It was, what's the phrase, you're flying the plane while building it, that kind of thing. That was kind of how that got started, which is sort of my background there. Lots of professional speaking and stuff on the topic of money. In the meantime, we moved. My wife got a job offer. We moved. I went to another college and started teaching there. And while my passion had always been personal finance, I started teaching business classes. And it turns out that if there's one thing I love a little bit more than financial literacy, it's business. And I absolutely loved it. And so, I've been doing money coaching, money talks, all those kinds of things. And I really love this world of business. And I realized the kinds of things my students struggled with. Right. Of course, on a college campus, you can only go so far. These folks aren't actually starting their business yet, right? So that's when I thought, man, this is where business coaching would actually be great, because I already have the coaching part down. I'm just switching a little bit, and I already do the teaching. That's when I met a guy named Rob Goyette, which you're familiar with. And it just so happened that while I met him, he was in the process of getting ready to expand his team. And I was getting ready in the process to become a business coach. And he liked my background. He liked that I was a professor and I kind of had that pedigree or whatever.
Right.
And he said, would you be interested in being on my team if I train you? And it's like, hello.
Right.
Absolutely, right? I said, of course I would. So that's how I ended up with Rob and got all of Rob's training and kind of went from there. And now I still work on Rob's team part-time. I do some things for him. During that process, if I'm going to keep getting a little detail, I ran into someone from Jay Shetty's team. Some people might not be familiar with him, but Jay Shetty created his own life coaching certification school, which is an accredited program. And they needed a curriculum designer. Well, if there's two things I knew at that point in my life, I understood coaching, and because of my many years as a professor, I understood curriculum design. So I became the curriculum designer for the Jay Shetty Certification School.
Got it.
And so that was kind of how all that came together. So the business coaching, the money coaching, the life coaching, kind of all that came together.
Gotcha.
To kind of get me to where I am now.
Yeah, I had been looking for some times in some ways since I first met you to get you on the show. In fact, we got together because one of my old business coaches had followed the Rob Goyette model, the fast revenue coaching model that he uses, and had trained under him and was training me in a very similar in that fashion, in that model. And so eventually, because of the things I looked up and I probably got on a list, I ended up going to the networking group that we're both a part of, and that's how we've come to this point. So it's good, fascinating background. It's interesting how things lead you to where you get to, so. Right. So, well, good. Well, let's get into this this about lead generation today. So you're here to talk about lead generation. Again, you've been on, CBS Money Matters. You're a college professor. Tell us a little bit more specifically how lead generation became one of your major topic areas inside of business coaching. You've touched on it already, so yeah, take us even further.
Well, so I mean, the number one problem that I find that most people have is not content, it's not product, it's not their ability to deliver an outcome. It's they don't have two things. Well, there's only three things I find them missing. Number one, they're missing the leads themselves.
Yep.
Right. Number two, they're missing the clear pathway to go from lead to paying client.
Yep.
And the third thing is they're missing the systems that need to have in place so that it's a smooth process for both them and the potential client.
Right.
And those kind of are the big three, I'd say, that most people are missing, with lead generation being one or number one, because I mean, the best funnel in the world does you no good.
Yep.
Let me give a quick example. When I was growing up, people who did not run a business gave advice, right? Which is always funny. And the number one advice I heard, and Joe, you're probably around my age, so you probably heard it too. It's, you got to build the better mousetrap. It's all about building the better mousetrap. And what I learned was that's the worst business advice ever, if that's your focus, unless your goal is to be an engineer. In which case, if all your goal is to be an engineer, then that's correct. If your goal is to run a business, you got to build the best marketed mousetrap. That is the key. And the concept of best marketed mousetrap, I mean, it has to be a functional mousetrap. Doesn't have to be the best one. It has to be best marketed so that people go to the store, they say, I want Bill's mousetrap.
Yeah.
They go to Lowe's and guess what's there? On the top shelf, Bill's mousetrap, right? Like that's how that gets there. Not because it's the best, but because it's the best marketed. And in our case, in our space, that the way what you're doing with your marketing is getting leads. You're trying to get leads so that you can then convert them.
Right. And that's where my focus has always been. And it's funny, there's so many different ways to get leads. For me, in the last year and a half, when I started working with coaches and things of that nature, I learned that there's completely different area of lead generation out there. But, primarily businesses need leads. And depending on who you're working with, you got to figure out where their leads are going to come from to be able to get them high quality leads. So that's, businesses, that is their biggest struggle. And like, again, as a lead generator, you're a lead generator, we recognize this and it's important to help people understand how to do it. So that's why I have Flip Your Marketing Flops. That's because I am of the same mindset as that's like basically businesses' biggest reasons for failing is that they're not sure how to get the leads consistently and to get high quality leads.
Right.
Which is funny because, sometimes I almost feel like there's not a bad lead when you're running. If you got a good person running leads for you, like I've heard this, many times, and especially with other people, like, they say, I got bad leads. I was getting bad leads. Well, the reality is when somebody says they're getting bad leads, I automatically think of, they may not be getting bad leads. What is the quality of their funnel? What is the quality of their funnel process? You speak about funnels being easy. So I would love to hear your perspective, because I have a feeling you're saying, you're thinking the same things that I'm thinking and saying the same things that I say. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So, I mean, for me, I think funnels are actually simple. Now, you can make complicated funnels. If you're going to be into software sales, there's probably 13 upsells, 3 cross sells, 9 downsells.
Right.
Your downsells have upsells, your upsells have downsells. But for the typical, like a coach or an author or a speaker or anything like that, typical service industry, funnels are very simple. So,
right.
And think about this. So some of the main ways that we like to get leads, or people in our space get leads, and I'm not counting LinkedIn, that's another one, but a lot of it, the fancy ones, if you will, the normal ones, Facebook ads is one. If you do paid, then there's, giveaways, being a contributor in a giveaway. There might be, there's all kinds of different ways. You're on the stage speaking, you're a guest on a podcast, whatever it is. And the key there is, well, where do you send people? And the concept is you have to have a place to send them to get something for free. And here's the beauty of it. The basic funnel to capture leads is a landing page, like a place to send them, then a sign up form so that you can capture their name and email, and the thank you page.
Yep.
And it's not any more complicated than that. Now, you want to automate the process. You can have, sales pages, pre-recorded webinars, evergreen webinars, but even that's still a linear funnel, right? Yep. So the thank you page basically says, hey, while you're waiting for that free thing, go check out my webinar, right? And then the webinar simply says either, hey, go buy my course, or hey, go book an appointment with me, and we'll talk. So like that is literally a funnel. That's it. It's not that complicated, but everyone makes it like it's like the word the cloud, when you say it's in the cloud and no one actually knows what that means. And it's just like some vague term. That's how funnels are for a lot of people, but it's not. It's a very concrete, simple thing.
It's like the phrase Kleenex, meaning tissue. When I go back and look over digital marketing in the years I've been involved, they used to say, people used to say, I need a website. And I used to think, no, you need leads. And then they said, I need SEO. And then I would think, no, you need leads. Nowadays they say, I need, Facebook ads, or I need Facebook. I said, no, you need leads. And funnels is like the hot, a hot buzzword that's been around for the last few years too. And you're exactly right. They need leads. And the bottom line is a funnel is part of the process of getting leads. And as I think about things in the conversations I've had with clients, their leads, back to kind of what I was saying a little bit ago, sometimes leads they may not be the best quality. And if they're not the best quality, then you turn them into better quality, because what they've done is your lead generation has identified somebody who's interested in your product. So now it's a matter of your process for pulling them through and making them interested in your offerings and services. But the biggest thing is you don't want to waste your money, and you want to be the most efficient by identifying the right people. So anyway, I'll get off my horse here and let you keep rolling and tell us a little bit more. So what I want to know is if you could tell the audience, like, who is it that you like to work with? Who's your ideal client with the people that you are typically working with, and what are you solving for them?
Sure. So the folks I tend to work with mostly online are going to be coaches of all niches, right? Life coaches, health coaches, fitness coaches, business coaches, whatever, are probably the primary. And then probably 60, 70% of the people are coaches. And then the other 30% are kind of the rest of that category, the expert category. Authors, speakers, book writers, course creators, things like that, which, by the way, is interesting because I always look at it this way. Either you're a coach who also creates a course, or you're a course creator who also does coaching, but they kind of go hand in hand because, as we all know, courses are great for that one-to-many, but the higher dollar and the more satisfaction usually comes from actually coaching people. On the other hand, if you're just coaching, you might be missing an opportunity for you don't have enough time to help everybody, or the dollar cost people can't afford, but you could be putting your content into a course and then kind of, okay, here's a course that I have. So they kind of all go hand in hand, but I'd say, but mostly coaches, course creators, speakers, and authors are the key to most of my audience. Yeah.
And what are you doing for them that makes you different or that makes you stand out?
So I've got actually two things I do. One, I created an automated marketing funnel bootcamp, and that's something I actually created in cooperation with Rob Goyette we talked about before.
Right.
Based on, he's a big name in this particular space about coaching and marketing funnels and so forth. And I kind of took his content and said, let's take your courses, because he had a lot of online courses. I said, let's take some of your courses, boil, kind of distill them down to the best parts, put it all together and create a 10-week boot camp out of it, where we help people go everywhere from niche clarity all the way to, evergreen webinar to, sales page. Yeah. So it's literally automated. That's the fun part about that one. So I do that, which is great. And the other thing I have going on is I actually have an event, Coaching BizCon.
Right.
Now, remember the story I gave earlier. What came out of all that was most coaches, when they get certified, trained, or whatever, they come out with the confidence and competence to be a good coach, but they still lack the confidence and in some cases the competence to run a coaching business, right? In other words, they're heart-centered, they're service-oriented, not necessarily business-minded. And so they're like, now what? And then from that, and then I've been to some other collaboration type events that are very transactional, or it's a mix of people that maybe aren't even relevant to what you want. So that's why I created Coaching BizCon, which is a place for coaches only and people who serve coaches to get together so that anybody in your networking space is relevant to you and your business. And we spend a little more time collaborating where you get to know each other a little bit more, find out what's working for people, what's not working, things like that. Find those partners who can then promote you going forward. You can work with, or maybe you write a book together, whatever. But it's a 3-day online event, and it's a lot of training, a lot of networking, and things like that as well.
Well, I hope that we can get this out with our audience and share it with other people to get people to that. It sounds like an incredible event.
Yeah, and the key with that really is, to be able to come out and literally have your plan together to be able to build your funnel. And like I said before, be podcast guest ready, stage ready, joint venture ready, all that stuff, so that you will be able to put your funnel together and start focusing then on, let's fill the funnel, let's get the leads. And that's really, that whole lead generation part comes in there. But the key is have a way to convert prospect to paying client. That way the leads actually turn into something.
Which is funny that you're saying that, because from the perspective of what my program coaches and the way I've done things, both as a lead generator for the past decade and a half or decade or so that I've been doing it, to what I do now is, I started by working one-to-one with people, and I said, I want to take this bigger. And then my clients started telling me, you really need to tell other people about it. And in doing this, moving from step to step, the biggest thing I learned is one of the things you touched on is that you got to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, your lead generation isn't really going to be, it's hard to make it good and strong. You might get lucky and get it where you need to be. But if you don't have a solid plan, your lead generation is sooner or later going to probably fail, because typically what I see is that plans come and go. They especially come and go with different marketing agencies. You go from one agency to the other, when the reality is, like what I teach people, is they need to own the plan. They don't need to know how to do all the marketing. They just need to be able to create the plan and understand what it takes to create the plan. So with Coaching BizCon, you're doing exactly what I preach to people. You're helping them start by designing their plan and being in the right place to be able to be in the right mindset to understand how they're going to find their success. So I really, I'd like to support you in that effort.
Yeah, and we want people to be positioned well to get either their first, if they're starting out, or their next 1,000 email subscribers. Because, as big as social media is, social media in and of itself does not convert that well.
Yep.
Unless your goal is just to get 1 million followers and then just, sell like crap like a regular TV commercial would do, just to say, hey, drink this drink I've never heard of before. And hey, I just made $500. If that's your goal, then so be it. And the reason I said it in sort of a sarcastic way is most people I talk to, like I said, are coaches. And the last thing coaches are out there doing is making money for the sake of making money. they want to serve. And you're not serving anybody if you're just trying to get 1 million clicks doing stupid videos and then being like, hey, buy this product that I've never heard of until today, but my agent said they'll pay me $1,000 to promote it. Like that kind of stuff, drives me crazy. And so that's why we want to get that email list, because that's what converts. It's the people that you can send stuff to. They change an algorithm, no big deal. You have one on your email list, right? Yeah. And we see that happen a lot as well.
And social media, it's funny because social media, if you have a lot of people in social media, you're still challenged to bringing them over. To me, they're like distant leads that you still need to warm them up and get them on your email list to make them hotter leads. I follow a lead generating guru from down. He lives in Australia. He's from New Zealand, and his name is Tom Poland. And one of the things that Tom Poland says about social media is social media helps you keep your business in the buyer's brain until the point that they're ready to buy. It's 3 B's. And I use that mindset in my coaching and my training processes, because it is not the end all be all. And like we said, I think before we were on camera, in this day and age of digital marketing, people today say, they think they need Facebook, they think they need this, or they think they need that. And the reality is, and maybe I should go back and say what I said to you beforehand. When I got started in digital marketing, people said, I need a website. And the reality is they needed leads. Then they started saying they needed SEO. The reality is they needed leads. Then they started saying they needed Facebook. The reality is they needed leads. Nowadays, a lot of times they're saying, I need a funnel. And the reality is, no, you need leads. The problem is people don't understand what they don't know how to articulate what they need. And so we as lead generators, we want to make sure that we help them understand that they need to have their processes in place to be able to generate a constant flow of high quality leads.
So, and the leads have to be constant. That's the other thing. Leads are not a one and done thing.
Right.
That'd be like saying, I don't need running water. I just need water while I'm cooking dinner. But then the next time you go, there's no water running. Right? You need constant running water. You need constant leads. It really is a numbers game. And you can drill down and say, well, if I could convert this level higher, then I wouldn't need as many leads and all that stuff. But generally speaking, it's still a numbers game. Even if you're converting 90% of people, it's still a numbers game. You just need smaller numbers, right? And so like if you need 10 people and you convert 90%, right, you need to get 11 or 12 coming through your funnel and that sort of thing. So it really is a constant thing. And that goes back to what you said about strategy, Joe, that if you don't have the right strategy, you do sort of a one-off thing, you get 500 leads, that's great. Okay, now what? Now, what's the next thing? Like it has to be systematic in a way. You have to figure out a process that works, and for all the listeners, everyone listening, not to gloss over what you said. At each stage, when someone says, I need Facebook ads, I need this, I need that, what they're really saying is I need leads. So always ask yourself, when you decide you need something, ask the big question, why, and step back from it a little bit, because that's like the weeds. Facebook is the weeds, right? But the big picture is I need leads. How you get the leads, that's part of the strategy. But always focus on the fact that what you really need is leads. You don't need SEO, you need leads. Right? It's kind of like people say, I need money to retire. And I say, no, you don't really need money, you need freedom.
Right.
And so let's figure out, what that's going to look like for you, that sort of thing.
When you talked about water, it was funny because I live in Las Vegas, and I was just came from Utah over the weekend back home. And you're driving through the desert for so long when you do that sort of thing. The point being that as I was out there, and I'm daydreaming and thinking about lead generation, and I'm thinking about analogies I've used in time and that I want to make them better. And one of the analogies was about water. It's like for the indigenous peoples that lived in the desert, they might have had something to carry water for them, and to have, but the reality is they would probably rather have stayed near the river for a constant flow of water. So as you were talking, that just flashed into my head, would you rather have a well or would you rather have a faucet in your kitchen? You'd rather have a faucet in your kitchen. Well, same thing with your lead generation. We can come up with ideas of how to generate a lead one time, but we want a consistent flow. And we don't want what I call the roller coaster effect of lead generation. We want it to be consistent. So with the kinds of people that you're working with, and with your business con, did I have it right now?
Coaching BizCon.
Coaching BizCon. I got to write that down. Coaching BizCon. When it being for basically these solopreneur types, the educationalpreneurs or whatnot, there's got to be a lot of lead generation that's happening by way of them networking with other people, right?
Absolutely, because one of the best ways to build your business is by using other people. And I don't mean using, it sounds bad, but by working with other people, collaborating. Like you're helping them, they're helping you.
Yeah.
So one of the examples I always give is, look, let's say 10 people independently start a business in a town, right? A roofer, a driveway repair person, whatever, right? And each of those people start a business at the same time, and probably in 5 years, 8 of them are out of business, one's struggling, and one might be doing well.
Right.
But if the 10 would have got together, not forming one business, they still have independent businesses, but the roofer says, I need to find out who does fencing contracting, who does clean siding, who paints houses, who does driveway.
Yeah.
That way, when I do roof and someone says, man, that's great, now I just got to do this next project, he can say, I know someone to refer to you.
Right.
When the driveway person's pouring driveway and someone says, that's great, now I just got to get my landscaping done, that person says, I know somebody. So what they would be doing is forming their own network of referrals,
right,
for people that do similar projects or similar audiences, right? In this case, homeowners. And those same 10 people, instead of having like 8 1-and-1 in terms of failure, barely succeeding and doing well, you're probably looking at like 7 doing really well at the end of that 5-year period, simply because of that referral network they built with each other. And that's the kind of thing that I think coaches and people that serve coaches need to be working on. So, if I do business and money coaching and someone ends up having a relationship issue, I need to be able to say, you know what, you need to talk to so-and-so. They're a great relationship coach. Yeah. Meanwhile, that person finds someone has a money issue, they could send them to me. So those are kind of some of those things that I think we need to be working on together as coaches to collaborate.
I think it's so important. That way, what it really does is it helps you stay with your client, your client longer, because they know you're the source of information and answers for them. So I totally agree with you on that. We're starting to get towards the end of this. So I had at least 1 or 2 other questions I wanted to ask you before I let you wrap up and tell us more about where we can find you and any offerings you have. But one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what is your biggest lead generation failure that you can share with the audience before you tell us about your biggest win?
Sure. So my biggest lead gen failure, I would say, was so I was a money coach in the past, and it was the money professors that I did. And I had been building this list, and because I was a professor, I was doing professional speaking and had a couple books. The speaking and the books was kind of my income from that. And I had a full-time job. So I spent 5 years building up a list of people that knew Bill's the guy that gives away free stuff. Everything was free. Download this. Oh, I did this new thing. Tell my list, hey, it's free. Go get it. Whatever. Then when I decided, I want to be able to be more mobile, so that if I leave and have to quit my teaching job, because my wife has a job that has some movement to it, and I want to be able to us be able to pick up and leave. So I need to start building an income online. And I had this great program. I thought it was a great program, help people pay off debt, especially homeowners, save hundreds of thousands of interest. Great, simple system. And I couldn't sell one to my list, like crickets. I cut the price in half, put a big sale out, nothing. So I was like, all right, fine. I had a program for how to basically save $2,000 in about 60 minutes, right? Just like some quick, simple things. Just, so obvious that most people don't think about. Ended up selling 5 for $7 each. Like, I could not get people to buy. And what I realized was my email list had friend zoned me, right? I mean, they friend zoned me. I spent so many years as the guy who gives away free stuff that I trained them that you don't buy from Bill, you get free stuff from Bill. You buy stuff from someone else, right?
Right.
So I literally set myself up that I was friend zoned by my own list, so that they weren't ready to date, right? They were not looking at me as the guy to buy stuff from. And that was my biggest marketing fail. And what I learned was, some people say, well, you know what, Bill, I'm afraid to email a promotion to my list because then people might quit my list, might drop off. And my response is, then why do you want them on the list to begin with? Right. Because if they're not there so you can sell them something, but you're afraid they'll drop off when you try to sell them something, then they're not the people that need to be on your list.
Right.
Of course, you got to do it the right way. But that was my biggest marketing flop or fail, was training them that I'm the free guy, and then try to switch gears all of a sudden and start selling stuff. And that did not go well. Yeah.
One of the marketing coaches I was with said, you actually kind of want that attrition to happen, because it'll fine tune your list and keep making it cleaner and cleaner towards the right list. Well, very good. And do you have any other marketing successes that you would like to share on the back half of that?
Yeah. So the biggest marketing successes I've had is partnerships. Those are the biggest ones. It's not been my Facebook ads. I mean, I get some stuff trickling in. I've tried several different things. Um, I talk from the stage, and that's really probably one of my biggest lead generators, but that hasn't happened because of COVID for a while.
Right.
But for me, the biggest marketing successes has been promotional partners where I partner with someone else, like a joint venture kind of thing.
Yep.
They promote me, I promote them, or I do something else for them and they promote me, right? Maybe I'll do something free for them, use my skills. In return, they promote me. But it's those promotional partners who maybe refer a client to me or promote my course. That's been my biggest successes doing it that way. It's kind of like you can either, cut down the weeds, move the dirt, build your own train tracks, build your own train, then get it moving. Or you could just hop on a moving train.
Right.
And that's kind of what it's like to partner with somebody, especially if they're already succeeding, is hopping on a moving train. Even though you give up a percentage, I'd still rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing.
Well, the way I look at that is you're going to pay for marketing one way or another anyway.
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So why not?
At least with partnerships, you're paying for marketing after the sale.
Yep.
Not before, right?
Right.
So it's
right.
less risk for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. So before we go, I want to tell the audience, or I kind of want to remind the audience that today we're here with Bill Pratt. Bill, you've been, you do many different things, but you're here today to be able to talk to us about lead generation. And since this theme of Flip Your Marketing Flops #4 has been about networking and technology, also you were also able to talk about networking, and because that's how you do lead generation with your audience. Before we go, I want to ask: is there anything that I missed? Any question that I should have asked you that you think I missed today?
No, I think that the key is just for folks to understand the simplicity of it. Don't get boggled down in the weeds. Don't think it's overcomplicated. What you need is you need to find a source, which we obviously get into the details here of getting leads. And then you got to figure out, how do I convert the lead to paying prospect? And it really is a very basic, simple funnel you can put together that just sifts them through. And the key is this: whatever you're offering them to get their attention, right? Like some kind of lead magnet, some free thing you're giving away, needs to be directly relevant to what you plan on selling them later. That's how you make sure you get good leads.
Right.
Make sure there's a connection between what attracts them to your freebie or why they want to talk to you to begin with, and what you're going to end up selling them. It's one, you don't like give away free car air fresheners and then try to sell people on corporate jets. Like that doesn't really align well, right? Like there has to be a tie in there. And I think that's the key. And maybe that's where some people get thrown off, is not thinking about that connection. That's where quote unquote bad leads come from, because they're attracted to your free item or whatever it is, but it has nothing to do with what you're trying to sell them.
Right. It's keeping everything in line. That's for sure. So remind us again what you have coming up, and then tell us how we can, how the followers can be able to follow up with you or to learn more about you. Sure. And if you have any valuable free, freebies that you want to offer to the audience, tell us where they can get those, or
sure.
Give me the links and I'll put it below.
Okay, I'll start with this. If they're interested in the network, if they're interested in the training, the 3 days of just kind of some great speakers and all that good stuff and a lot of collaboration, go to coachingbizcon.com. Right, that's coachingbizcon.com. And if they're interested in learning a little bit more, I have an item I can give them. It's my 60-minute sales funnel blueprint, where I talk about kind of how simple it is to put that sales funnel together. And they can just go to, and I use this on podcasts, so it's a simple one to remember. It's freepodcastdownload.com.
Got it.
So freepodcastdownload.com, and they can get access to my 60-minute sales funnel blueprint, which kind of shows. And by the way, there's also an over-the-shoulder video of me building the sales funnel in about 40 minutes.
Got it. I think my audience will really benefit from that, especially as a lead generator here personally. So glad to hear it. Glad that you shared that with our audience. Well, I'd like to thank today's guest, Bill Pratt, for being on here and on Flip Your Marketing Flops #4. Bill, again, thank you for being here today. Appreciated having you.
Great. I love being here, Joe.
Thank you for watching this encore presentation. I'm your host, Joe Sales Jr., and this has been an encore interview about lead generation with special guest speaker Bill Pratt on the Flip Your Marketing Flops digital marketing and lead generation podcast. where you can listen in on the latest digital marketing and lead generation trends and tips through conversations with marketing professionals. We help service businesses and entrepreneurs produce better marketing results. For more information, visit flipyourmarketingflops.com.